you can already tell, this is an emergency broadcast. And why is that? Because the Nintendo Switch 2 is out. Whoa! Look, we will get into the actual topic, which is as sloppy as you could get, but to just make it double sloppy Joe, we will be putting some footage of the new Mario Kart 2 in the corner just to keep the Zoomers' attention. This is what you're missing out, POV Zoomers. Anyway, as you've probably woken up to, Elon Musk is having a massive spat about Donald Trump. Now, I think that we all predicted that this would happen at some point. I personally didn't predict that it would end with Elon Musk essentially accusing Donald Trump of being a pedo. I don't think that any of us saw it going that deep, that quickly, after, what has been a very fruitful relationship in systematically trying to destroy the American government, and doing so very unsuccessfully, I might add, because I think that the big catalyst of all of this was, well, a couple. The first was the fact that his special employment came to an end, and with it coming to an end, he realized, I've lost a lot of money. I've probably lost more personal wealth than I was able to cut out of the American budget towards the end, because this is something that we really, really need to hammer a little bit more on Friendly Geordies. This could have been us. We could have been the same country that was trying to blow up society and doing it really badly. Because it seems like a lot of the jobs that Elon Musk cut, Congress just went, we need those jobs. We're going to rehire them. And then Elon Musk would say, but I'm the bad guy in Blade Runner 2049. What I say goes. And they say, yeah, but that's a science fiction movie. This is reality. You don't have full jurisdiction of the US government. The US government is not Tesla. Do you understand the difference? And then he used his little robotic eyes and went, does not compute. And then he looked at his massive bank account going, and so he just went, I have to go now. Like the bad guy in 2049, just fucked off to Mars, right? He is completely fucked. And what's even more fucked about this guy now is that he is now going after the new market that he was trying to open up, which, so many weird things happened over the last 6 months. Who would have thought that the darling car of MAGA was a fucking Cybertruck? What the hell? We're all expecting it to be NASCAR. It was going to look like something. I was expecting it to be the Pixar Cars car. That's what I thought it was going to be. Not an EV. And now he's leaving, we think, because in Trump's big, beautiful budget, wouldn't even extend him the courtesy of rolling over Biden's EV subsidies. This seems to be where the spat came from, because guess who has some interest in electric vehicle technology? I mean, look, as Elon Musk said very clearly in his tweet, the ingratitude. He won that guy the election. He's not even giving him that. And then he just takes this huge, absolute brand damage on a level that I've never seen before. Have you ever seen anybody just go from Hollywood elite star darling that would be hanging out with your Clooneys and Obamas to hanging out at a bloody Luke Combs concert, K'd up, talking about how awesome Trump is, and then Trump does this, and then he gets pissed off, and then everyone in America hates him now. Holy shit. I understand that the reason that he is doing this right now on Twitter is to try and distance himself from the entire Trump project and try and win back that liberal Hollywood elite crowd. But I don't think it's that easy. I think that you're going to have to go through your Mel Gibson 10 years of trials and tribulations before you're even remotely acceptable to that crowd again. Oh man. What I will say about this entire ordeal is, thank you very much for, as usual, the United States being the light on the shining hill and showing the rest of your allies across the world what can happen when you elect these psychos. Because we all have our little mini version of Elon Musk, I'm sure. Because we've got Gina Reinhardt. Well, mini's not the right word when you're talking about Gina, but the point is, we could have had a way more boring, less funny version of what is happening in the United States right now. which is sort of just, I guess best described as like a clusterfuck. Like nothing of any real substance has happened. Might be happening in the traditional way of what the Republicans usually do, which is just cutting back on all the social services with this budget bill, right? But in terms of Doge, what did it really accomplish in the end? All it really did was give America a much needed civics class in how the government actually runs and functions and what the government does. Because it seems that primary school has failed in that task, probably because of the Republicans' budget cuts to schools. So now they are learning once again, oh, that's right, it's probably a good idea that somebody is testing whether or not supermarket food is poisonous or not. Again, Dutton was trying to do the same thing here. He was trying to go to an election with his only point, apart from building nukes across the country in electorates that didn't want them, was why don't we just cut the government back to just pretty much me and Jacinta Price can have a job. That's about it. They were doing the same thing here. And as you can see from all of the literature that Gina Reinhardt has published in her esteemed career, she wants the same thing for some strange ideological reason. I mean, in the United States, because their deficit is so large, you would say, okay, maybe there is waste that we can cut back on. Maybe. That was not the way to do it, to get somebody in who has no experience in the government, isn't even an American, to go in and just cut things willy-nilly without any knowledge of how the government runs. Like, government is a complicated vehicle, yeah? I've been doing nothing but reading about it for the last 10 years of my life. I don't understand anything. I know that people that work in the government don't understand anything. They're basically just little sphinx-like creatures that patrol one little area of the maze labyrinth that is the government. It is an endless machine that is constantly building and repurposing itself. It's very, dare I use the phrase, even though I've got an entire stand-up show talking about how bad it is, but anyway, Byzantine in its workings. If you're going to do that, you need someone who has devoted their entire life, at the very least, to understanding what that vehicle is. And the fact that we are in this age of entitled narcissists having so much money to throw around that they think, oh, the government's in the way every time I try and build rockets to Mars. They seem to want to care about if we're putting monkeys on it and if we're going to kill monkeys in the process. That should be those are my monkeys. I bought them fair and square. And so he's just got it in his head, oh, I'm going to just punish the government for being on my ass all the time and go in. The ego. It's honestly just the same as me going into Elon Musk's office and saying like, oh yeah, what's with all these engineers? I don't reckon you need that many there. Like, what the fuck do I know about running an EV company? It's even worse because it's government. Government is a reflection of society. It is keeping society running. And so I'm just so glad that America, having this massive spat that is happening, for once, a Twitter spat was actually educational. Even though it is terrifying that this is the day and age that we live in, that online beefs between celebrities is how we learn things, in inverted commas. It is really cool that they have shown that, sorry, even if you do cut back the government, like, it still has to keep functioning. And all that happens is they either hire them back on temporary contracts like they had to do in the United States, which just inflated their salaries further, or, like they do in Australia, hire them out to the private sector. It's all just a ruse. I am sick to death of this, we need to cut back on government efficiency rhetoric, because yeah, there's waste in the government. There's also massive waste in the private sector. I mean, he's the richest man in the world, but that is a lot of money to lose in a single day. So anyway, thanks for the lesson, Elon. Thank you, America, for being the quote-unquote metaphorical giant lab experiment that Republicans used to always talk about in their primaries before the Trump era. You really were. I'm sorry if you're a US viewer, but you got to admit, your demise was a lot more hilarious than people imagined. Now, to all the Australians watching, buy a shirt. Kevin27, on sale now. If you're in Perth, I'm coming there at some point. Links below.